Hey, what's up, guys? So, I'm going to be doing a movie review today, and that is Deadly Friend. Came out in 1986 and stars Christy Swanson and Matthew Laberick. I believe that's how his name is pronounced. Um, and, Matthew is best known for Little House on the Prairie, the TV show, and Christy Swanson is best known for, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the 1992 film. And, of course, we all know who Wes Craven is. This came after A Nightmare on Elm Street. It's a few years later. And it's based off a novel called Friend that came out in 1985. So it's like loosely based off this novel. Now, this film originally was just a sci-fi thriller, kind of a, mixed with kind of a love story, but kind of a tragic love story. And originally, it wasn't supposed to be a gore fest. It wasn't supposed to be really a horror type of film. And when it was shown to test audiences, most of the people that watched the film were Wes Craven fans. And when they saw the film, they didn't like it. Because it wasn't like A Nightmare on Elm Street or The Hills Have Eyes. It wasn't, it wasn't your typical Wes Craven type of film. Because Wes Craven was trying to do a different type of film with this. And the film is just, it's about artificial intelligence. It's about reanimation, basically. It's about losing a loved one and how do you, bring him back to life, basically. But test audiences didn't like what they saw, so Wes Craven was forced, to do reshoots and add, insert gore, and he had to change the ending to the film. And there has not been a director's cut of this film since then. And I wish they would release a director's cut so I could see what Wes Craven originally intended to make. Because from my understanding, the original version of this film was a lot better. It was more closer to the book. It had a better ending, and it wasn't bloody violence and gore and all the stuff that is the version that we saw. With the, So, yeah, it's unfortunate. I would love if Scream Factory, would release a director's cut, like two versions. Have the director's cut and the theatrical version cut of what we have, available to see. But this is just one of those films. It's one of those films that it had so much potential, and I still enjoy the film for what it is. It's just the ending. The ending is what hurts this film the most. It's the ending. Because the ending is like, why? Why did you have this ending? Now, I don't know if it's supposed to be something that really happened or it was just a dream. It could come off as a dream, just to scare you for a setup for a sequel maybe, or it was just something that really did happen. I don't know. It's never explained. There's never a commentary with Wes Craven explaining the ending or the troubled production of this film. So it's never explained. But this film is basically, this very intelligent, smart kid, a science, whiz, and he creates this, robot called BB, and he's kind of like, Johnny Five kind of type of thing. You know, he speaks, he moves, you know, and you know, he moves to this new town and with his mother, and he meets this girl next door, Christy Swanson, and she's being abused by her father. He's very controlling, you know. And he meets this other kid who, is a paper boy, and he becomes friends with him too. And one day during Halloween, they go walk by the neighbor's house, and I believe they were just trying to do a prank of some sort. To ring her doorbell, because this old lady is so mean. She's so paranoid of people like trying to kill her or do something to her. She like runs out of her house. She's got her shotgun ready, and she's gonna shoot somebody if they even enter her property. And this is the same lady from what was the film? The Goonies. The older lady from that, the evil lady. But they do a prank. It wasn't successful. Through the whole thing, BB gets shot by this crazy old lady. She shoots BB, and BB's destroyed. Then later on, Christy Swanson's character, Samantha is her name, and she gets killed by her father, her abusive father. He pushes her down the stairs, and she hits her head, and she dies. But Paul, which is Matthew, Paul, the character, he reanimates her basically. He brings her back to life. And he puts some chip in her brain that he used from BB, and she comes back to life. So she's reanimated. But she's, kind of zombie-like, but she's kind of like zombie-like, but she's like having feelings of when she was once alive. So she keeps switching back and forth to being human to going back to being like this zombie-like, person that is trying to avenge her death, basically. All the wrongdoing that happened to her, she's killing. That's what happens. She kills her father, she kills the crazy lady next door. She takes a basketball that old lady stole from them, these kids, and Christy Swanson takes a basketball and throws it right at her head, this old lady, and just like a melon. Her head explodes like a melon, like all these blood and guts everywhere. Then she's walking headless with blood squirting out of her body. It's pretty gross, actually. It's sick. But it's probably the most famous scene of the film, and that's a scene that they had to reshoot and add that in there for more gore because, test audiences didn't like the version they saw previously because it was more tame. The film was a lot more tame originally. It originally was a lot more tame. There was more of a love story, so they cut a lot of stuff out. They cut a lot of the love story out for more gore and more scares, like dream sequences and stuff like that. More like a Wes Craven film. So I would really love to see the original cut of this film. But that's basically your premise. I mean, she's kind of switching back and forth from being Samantha to, being, this vengeful killer, you know. And it doesn't end very well for both these characters, Samantha and Paul. I'm not going to go too into the ending, but it's an ending that's disappointing. It's one of those films, if they just didn't have this ending, if they ended it were, a different way, or at least at the point towards the end of the film where Samantha gets shot and she passes away, if they ended it there, I would have been perfectly fine with the picture. But they had to add this stupid ending at the very end of the film where Paul is trying to reanimate her again, bring her back to life once again, and they make a stupid decision by doing a dumb ending, which I did not like how they did this. The ending is the worst part. And then you got the end credits where you got the song, a BB song. Baby. 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 I mean, it's really stupid. It's like chanting or something. Baby. 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 It's just kind of goofy sounding. It's kind of a goofy song at the end. I'm just like, really? I guess it's trying to be terrifying or scary, but just silly. This film at times feels like it's played out as a TV movie. At times. And then it kind of switches back to like horror and more of a production. And so I think this was during a time when Wes Craven was making TV movies, because he did a couple TV movies. But, so maybe that kind of blended into this film, because it does feel at times a TV movie, especially with the guy, Matthew. He was in Little House on the Prairie, and so yeah, I mean, it kind of does have that TV vibe to it at times. And then at times it feels like, Wes Craven, bigger production, a little bit bigger production than a TV production studio, for a theatrical release. But this did come out in the theater, and it didn't do well in the box office. The budget was 11 million, the box office was 8 million. It was just one of those films that, originally it was supposed to be a science fiction, type of film, a thriller, and it was, the studio, they were disappointed with the test audiences, and they forced Wes Craven to change things, and I think, from what I understand, that's what hurt the film, is by, the studio getting involved, which happens all the time. Test audiences have issues about something, and they panic, and they, make changes. They force changes, and the director gets frustrated. Wes Craven pretty much disowned this film, pretty much, from my understanding. He didn't really want to talk about, he didn't do any commentaries. He barely talks about this film. It's one of those films that I think at one point he said in an interview he was surprised it even got made, because there was so much, studio interference and making changes. Warner Brothers, and of course it would be Warner Brothers, because Warner Brothers is notorious for making changes and just interfering and ruining things. I mean, they've done that with several films, several movies. It's ridiculous. So yeah, but it's one of those films that I really like the concept of the story, and I like the interaction between Paul and Samantha and the love story, and I like the concept of him, you know, reanimating his girlfriend and bringing her back, and but she goes and gets revenge, and I mean that's fine and all, but it's just that ending. I mean, I don't know what the original version was, so I can't, I don't. All I know is there's some pictures online of scenes that were cut out. There's some scenes, but it's I don't really know what version they had planned, but I'm sure that version's better. The original ending was probably a lot better than what we got, and I hope one day we do get to see that version. But I do enjoy the film for what it is. I do like the gore, and I like everything about the film. What they did release, I did like. It's just that ending. That ending is what hurts the film. If it didn't have that ending. But I always look at that ending as like a dream sequence. It was just a dream sequence. It wasn't a real ending. A real thing that happened. It was just a dream sequence, and that was it. Just something scary to end the film with. That's how I look at it. Because if it's a real thing that happened to Paul, and that's what became of Samantha, that's a really stupid ending for a film. I don't know, it's like a cautionary tale type of thing, like don't try to reanimate somebody, kind of like Pet Sematary. Don't try to bring the dead back to life because there's consequences. Maybe it's a cautionary tale they were trying to present here. I don't really know, but I think that ending hurts the film. I mean, Pet Sematary was a little different. That was going to go downhill no matter what. This could have redeemed itself a little bit. With the story they were presenting. It didn't need to go downhill like that. It didn't need to go down that path. That type of ending. Not the type of film they were trying to present here. That's what makes the film disappointing, is that damn ending. But anyway, this is my review of Deadly Friend. If you have not seen this film, I would recommend this film just to watch. If you've seen Nightmare on Elm Street, if you've seen his earlier works like Swamp Thing or Hills Have Eyes or People Under Stairs or Scream, or if you've seen his works and this one's unknown to you, I would check it out. I would recommend it because it's one of those underrated kind of hidden gems that just had potential, but it's just suffered from a not very good ending. But anyway, this is my review of Deadly Friend, and I hope you enjoy this review, and I hope you guys have a good day. Take it easy.